Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason, where today we're going to be taking a look at a game that I played myself quite recently here on Frozen Tundra. Is that the name of this map? I'll check it in just a second. Spawning here is the Blue Cortex Commander right up on the front line. It's gonna be none other than TNT Remmer. It was just a happy coincidence that it ended up being the two TNTs going up against here. TNT is like a really old username from back in the day. I actually got it from Minecraft, my old Minecraft username. Anyways, TNT Remmer here, the Blue Commander, going to be going up against yours truly. And in this match today, I was playing a little bit of airplay, so I'm going to be showing us what we have. I like to take a look at my own matches every so often. I feel like, you know, if I get to be critical of everybody else's gameplay in this game, I might as well be critical of my own as well. So here we go. Some Cortex Air shenanigans. I don't play Core often, and I don't play Air even less often, so should be some good stuff. I remember this match was quite a banger, and so I knew immediately that I wanted to show it to you guys. But Whitefire Remake, I'm just now remembering, is the name of this map here. Whitefire Remake version 1.3. Yeah, so, Air is a tricky one. It's not one that I'm very comfortable with, but if there's one thing that I know, it's that at the very least I can be useful to my team with a little bit of bombing and a little bit of shuriken gameplay. It's like the easiest thing about Cortex Air is that basically all it requires is that you make a single bomber early on, and you make those shuriken after that in order to shut down run-bys or early aggression, any of that sort of stuff. It's very easy to be useful to your team early on. And I spawned on the back lane here, where you can see there's quite a lot of metal extractors. I was setting up some LLTs, because I wasn't exactly sure where the different pathways for aggression might be for this team, so I was just trying to cover the bases right here. But anyways, our blue team leader going to be spawning as a core commander and going into those bots right here. And it looks like we're going to go for a res bot first. Energy quite low on Whitefire Remake. You might have noticed that I actually opted for solar panels. Do as I say and not as I do. The solar panels are a trap, at least most of the time. Little scout plane coming across right here. Always worth remembering to do your scouting here. Actually, sorry, that's not the... There we go. I want to do this. Just so we can take a look at exactly what is revealed right here. You can see revealing the two commanders on the right-hand side. This is the moment where I knew the blue commander was going to be over here, and I knew that the orange commander on my team was going to be in for a little bit of a rough fight. It's important to do this. I definitely recommend it. If you're going to be playing as the air commander, getting a scout plane across the way and into the enemy line. You can see me juking around that fighter plane right there. That fighter plane came out and went in that direction, so I tried to get behind it so it couldn't shoot me. There it dives back to try and kill me, but it's a little bit too late. Yeah, circling around. A little bit of air shenanigans, but there we go. A perfect scout all the way across the map, and that's tremendously useful for the team. Obviously, sending those scouts out and sending units to figure out where those enemy bases are going to be. One of the easiest ways to give your team a little bit of a clearer vision. There you go. You can see the scout plane, by the way, from the enemy team right there. Actually discovers my bomber that I built and sent across the map. But the scouting plane also, of course, serves that double purpose, right? Because now I know where the targets are for this bomber to go ahead and go try and hit. Fighter plane right here patrolling back and forth on the left-hand side. As the bomber wraps around on the right, we have aggression over here from the hot pink commander and the cyan commander lining up against each other, ready to get to war. But the bomber is coming in. Anti-air tower, nice reaction from TNT Remmer. Sets up the anti-air tower there. Bombs away, though, right onto this cluster of eco, and boom go the mexes. Wind turbine, solar panel closes up as well. And the bomber barely manages to get away. Ooh, that final anti-air does take it down. Managed to land another shot against those wind turbines in the mechs right there, but you can see, very easy for these Cortex bombers to find value. Only managed to bomb 2 of those bases, but at the end of the day, it's still more than enough to justify that cost. That's easily 150 metal in metal extractors, and then of course quite a bit more from those wind turbines as well. At 43 metal apiece, definitely more than the cost of that bomber. Little bit of a run-by happening over here. We've got a couple of those blitzes pushing forward, trying their very best to get some damage done. They take down the constructor here from Bulva, which is very annoying, because obviously that constructor was meant for grand designs on the front line here. Great things. Aggressive shurikens coming across right here. Love this airplay from Lizar. Me and Lizar were going at each other's throats here this game. This was definitely a really back and forth air game, which is why I was excited to show it. But also, what a spectacular team to play with. I was really thrilled with these guys. You'll notice me in the chat a lot this game. If you're one of those folks that likes to pay attention to that a lot, you'll notice me in the chat coaching, or trying my best to anyways. There I am in the back lines though, trying to shoot down the plane over here. Largely, I'm not going to focus on my own play here, though, because basically, as an air commander, well, maybe we could just take a look at this here. If I turn to my own player camera, you can see what I'm looking at here, queuing up some stuff in the backline, and then zipping my camera all around the place here, queuing things up on the minimap, trying to align things all over. It's a little bit harder to focus on the battle at large. Ooh, TNT Remmer and Bud Light going at each other's throats right here, trying to blast away. There is that thug. Comes up and running and is firing away here. Bud Light in a lot of danger, though. That LLT does a lot of damage, 20%. LLT goes down. Floodlight now at 9% HP. The grunts are sent on a mission. They have one target and one target only. It's the Orange Commander and everything he knows and loves. Yeah, those grunts are coming in hot. Boom goes the Orange Commander on the right-hand side. This is a dangerous situation right here. This is a really, really dangerous situation where suddenly, yeah, you can see our orange hero here looking, yeah, a little bit, understanding that this is suddenly a really rough situation. TNT Rimmer has now reclaimed a whole bunch of the metal, or is moving in to reclaim a whole bunch of this metal, trying to get as much out of this corpse as possible here. Actually gonna degun it. Okay, fair enough. Can't really contest with the thugs and the pawns running forward here. TNT Rimmer decides to back off. Didn't actually extract nearly as much metal out of that as they probably would have liked to. Only maybe 50 or so metal actually ended up coming out of that corpse. TNT Rimmer now in a whole bunch of trouble. Whoa, those maces firing away. Rocket bot too. Uh-oh. Mace fires one more shot. Two more shots. Boom goes the blue commander. Nicely done. Excellent little comeback right there for the orange commander. Both comms dead on the front lines means, of course, that suddenly there's a whole lot of metal here for the reclaim, and nicely done from the pink commander. Slow Yoda as well, eating up that wreckage as quick as possible. We're going to resurrect, actually. No, there we go. Yeah, we are going to eat. Not bad whatsoever. The purple commander being blamed for the units that moved on over in this direction, but an excellent play. Excellent teamwork right there from the yellow and orange, having each other's back in order to blast through this front line, doing a great job there. I remember I made a comment about this on the map here somewhere. Aggression on the left-hand side is looking quite nice here as well. We got missile trucks and rocket bots, and it's a great combo because those missile trucks have tremendous vision range, and the missile bots, of course, have tremendous weapon range, so they can fire out into the distance quite far. Having those missile trucks to actually fire accurately helps a lot. It's a very expensive combo, but if you have two commanders worth of production, then it's definitely achievable. Total Savage moving forward right here, setting up the mechs and also trying to claim some LLTs. Obviously a little bit aggressive, a little bit greedy here. There's a lot of enemy forces, so this is a ambitious project that the tank commander has started up right here, and yeah, is forced to retreat backwards. Not a whole lot of options as far as that is concerned. Nice aggression pushing forward in the midsection here as well as the maroon commander starts to lay down some rocket fire from the bottom of this hillside up towards the purple commander Maven. Trying to blast apart those enemy units and doing a great job of it, actually. Those Rocketeers do a huge amount of damage when their missiles connect. They just don't connect all too often. It's one of those give and takes. Maces on the front line. And man, I gotta say, Maces have seen a little bit more... They've seemed a little bit better than I've really given them credit for in recent times. I've been using them more and more, and I really think they're, yeah, maybe deserving of a little more respect than I initially understood. They seem to be quite a very, very useful tool here. Definitely very useful for skirmishing on these front lines, but you have to be so careful, right? Because losing them means that they turn into enemy units now fighting against you. Resbots for the blue commander, picking up as many of these units as possible and trying to get them back into working condition for this front line. Undead armies fighting against each other, but it really is the power of the bot lab is one that you can resurrect your army, and then suddenly you've got yourself in a really nice position where all your units that go down end up just coming right on back to serve you. It's great. And the backlines, meanwhile, transitioning into actual air economy here, going to be going into some advanced solar panels. Air units take quite a lot of energy to build. You can see 73 metal, but 2,800 energy. Quite expensive to build. Means, of course, that you need quite a substantial energy economy. That's why you see me go for all these solar panels here, which, yeah, eventually I'm going to go ahead and just reclaim with the commander. Not worth keeping those around when I could just go for solar panels. Once you have about 4 of those advanced solar panels, it's sort of a self-sustaining chain reaction, where those advanced solar panels pay for the next solar panels, and those pay for the next, and so on. And so forth. Slow Yoda in a little bit of trouble here. Yeah, medium tanks harassing down the pink commander at this point. We also have those artillery vehicles firing high into the sky and trying to rain down hellfire on top of everything the pink commander has known and loved here. You see me complaining about the fighters and whatnot. Typically, best practice as far as anti-air goes is a little bit of a mixed composition of anti-air units on the ground and anti-air units in the air, fighters. Somewhere in between lies the most powerful anti-air force, because obviously if enemy fighters have to fight through ground-based anti-air that they can't kill, and then fight through the fighter force that they will be able to kill, obviously that's going to yield tremendous results. Psy Zealot on the left-hand side here manages to blast down the green commander. It's going to be half robot, the 13 OS silver chevron hero over here. Worth noting, of course, that this is a learner's game, so I'm only being half critical of half robot, and indeed the rest of these players as well. I don't know about you, but I tend to find it a lot more fun to play with newer players and coach or otherwise help them learn through the game, maybe lead by example, for instance. rather than some of those ultra sweaty lobbies. Definitely where you're going to see some of the top-notch gameplay, where you see some of the craziest plays, but yeah, there's something to be said for the general pleasantries of dealing with players that are eager to learn rather than the ones that know it all. Slow Yoda here. Ooh, in a lot of trouble, actually. Yeah, Pink Commander in a lot of trouble at that front line. Gets damaged a lot by those medium tanks. Fires off a nice D-gun into the batch of those tanks, but I think there's just not enough HP. Boom goes the Pink Commander right there. Blowing up quite a few of those units, actually. Probably not enough to justify the death of the Commander, but obviously we'll take anything that we can get. Fighters here now clashing midair above this fight here, trying to keep the Shuriken at bay. Obviously those Shuriken turn this battle one way or another, so keeping them out of the hair of either of these commanders on the ground, super, super important. Resbot count right here for the Orange Commander, looking quite healthy as well. Obviously using those for repairs, using those for whatever. There's the fighter sweeping in again. Really, really important to keep those fighter numbers healthy. That way you can sweep in and save against the Shuriken. Especially since in this particular game it's going to be two core commanders going up against each other. It only amplifies that, right? If you see an armed commander on the other side, you don't need to be as cognizant about Shuriken play, for instance, but especially if it's a core commander, and most of the times it will be a core commander, you have to be really, really careful about that. Medium tanks, a little bit slowed here. Looks like they turned around looking for something, but they will be blasted down eventually by the thugs here. And all said and done, not a terrible defense, because of course these resbots can resurrect all this, turn it back into metal for production, or they can use it to go ahead and just resurrect as units on the front lines for the skirmishing. I like the inclusion of the construction turret here. Just a single construction turret can do wonders for a frontline composition, rebuilding all the static defenses that get scuffed up in any aggression, or just repairing units that happen to walk by. As you can see, there's a lot of units that are lightly damaged that with the construction turret go back up to full HP. Ditto for the Centurion, which of course also could benefit from a little bit of repair. There we go, Total Savage, microing the repair right there, quite nice. Spamming the chats right there. I told you were going to see me in the chat. I was very active this game. As the air player, you play from a very high perspective. Means you have a lot of voice on the field. Something I would definitely encourage, too. Communicating with your teammates, it's an important part of the game. You just got to make sure you're not being too passive-aggressive and breaking the morale of your team. Morale is a finite resource that you have to be very careful about. It can go away very quickly in a game of Beyond All Reason. Not everyone has the same morale, shall we say, morale surplus as others. Some might throw in the morale towel quite a bit sooner. Grunts moving forward. Yeah, I've undervalued the mace. I've certainly undervalued it. It feels like it's got a leg to stand on finally, and I'm not sure exactly if there were any changes to it or something, or if it was just underappreciated in its time. But for the time being, yeah, definitely in the favor of the mace. It seems like it's found its footing here. Ooh, rough D-gun right through the middle of that laboratory right there for Zebra X. Losing a whopping 650 metal in that D-gun. Not bad. If you go ahead and consider all these tanks, though, that's 2,000 metal right there. So eating up all that reclaim is obviously well worth it. Shuriken in the air, trying to paralyze these tanks, or as many of them as possible. It's a matter of volume, right? The more Shuriken you have, the more you can keep sustained. D-guns through the middle of those tanks, wiping that metal off. I think I complained about it. Suddenly this match, it's been a couple days since I played this match, but suddenly this match is coming back to me. All the pains, woes, and worries of the game, yeah. What I'm complaining about here is if you had reclaimed all that metal, that would be 2,000 metal back in the bank account here for the Red Commander, and obviously it doesn't really cost anything to reclaim all that. The Shuriken can stay there and paralyze forever. Reclaiming with the Commander or just reclaiming with Resbots, whatever it's going to be, it can yield you quite high results, quite large net worth results. Massive battlefield on the front here as well. 1.6 thousand metal here available for the reclaim, and it looks like Zebra X is going to be the one to get their hands on it first. Heavy laser towers, lightning turrets, all these walls, keeping it all together. What a lovely little static defense right here on the low ground for the Maroon Commander. Love that lightning turret there. Yeah, lightning turret getting a lot of value. Interesting. Lightning turret's not one of those things that we see all the time in Beyond All Reason. It's just kind of a, they're one of those things that exist and they can get a lot of value. But a lot more often than not, they're just going to end up being wasted. Pawns running forward here, though. Jumping on top of a whole bunch of this, and I don't mind it, actually. Pawns trading out for medium tanks is not a terrible trade, as long as they're in numbers and they can, well, get that trade relatively efficiently, with a surround, I mean. Well, there we go. I mean, 5 or so pawns, maybe 8 or so pawns going down for 3 medium tanks and a Wolverine. Definitely a trade that's worth taking. T2 now rolling out to the battlefield, though. Still on T1 economy as far as energy production goes right here in the backline as far as I'm concerned, but I am upgrading those T2 metal extractors. Getting that metal rolling in means you can obviously upgrade that production. My counterpart over here opts to go instead for that T2 laboratory, but you can see didn't end up going for the advanced solar panels early on, and so now it means that there's a huge E and metal stall right now. Oh, also, interestingly, the Green Commander is taking these mexes. So I'm going up against a much poorer opponent, something I hadn't counted on, something I didn't really consider into the equation here. One of the reasons why I love watching these games after the fact is because you learn things, right? You get to observe things that you didn't really understand earlier on. Oh, a beautiful engagement right here, though. Massive engagement from the Orange Commander, cuts across two different faces of the Lavender Commander, firing on multiple fronts. Those Gauss weapons connecting with a whole bunch of these Rocketeers, leaving a massive wreckage field of metal for the Reclaim. Beautifully done right there by our Orange hero. Pink Commander comes in to finish the mission, and it looks like those Maces are going to step forward. This is a lot of LLTs, but frankly speaking, LLTs are kind of dookie water once you get into that Rocketeer gameplay, and we do have plenty of Rocketeers here. Although within range of the LLTs is a little bit questionable. We also have those T2 in the mix. We have Gunslingers here trying to fire away as much as possible. There's also the Blue Commander who's gone ahead and gone into those T2 units. Very nicely done. Total Savage going for an expensive frontline right here. So this is one of those things that can be cleaned up later on as you get a little bit more familiar with the game. As you can see, we have the T2 mexes coming up right here, and indeed we've got quite a few of them at this point. Certainly sufficient metal to be wasting on these gauntlets. Like, spending this much metal, it's better to have it spent on the field somehow rather than nowhere at all, but 2 rattlesnakes instead of 3 gauntlets would be way, way, way more efficient here for our Tan Commander. The Meatballs marching forward here as well. Just HP on the battlefield, and it looks like it's enough. Monk Air not moving the forces back right here, and so the Centurion get the jump on a whole bunch of Sheldon. Definitely not supposed to happen here. Suddenly the Centurion have put in a bunch of work, doing 60-ish% damage to that commander before a couple more shots actually connect with it. And there we go. The Meatballs have managed to overrun the defenses on the left-hand side. The right-hand side, a gigantic wash of metal. Yeah, those Sheldon are pretty efficient. The Orange Force pushing forward to break this line of LLTs, but my goodness. 7,500 metal now lying on the field right here between the orange, lavender, blue, and pink commanders combined. Mounts are quite good, obviously, for dealing with all that stuff as well. Little scout plane here. Love the inclusion of the scout plane. That's a great play right there from the air. Sure, he's parked. Idle. Oh, brutal. Watching those Shuri go down like that is brutal. Not the end of the world, of course, but it definitely sucks. Bunch of stacked up shuriken. It's why you always got to spread them out. Nice little run by here, by the way, from the Gunslinger. Need to focus down that build power. Uh-oh. Gunslinger targeted down right here by the Hounds and the multiple build turrets from the Green Commander. Did you see it was regenerating at the same speed it was being dissected by the build power? That was quite cheeky. Push on the right-hand side. Yeah, these Sheldon making all the difference. You can see as these Sheldon work away on these T1 units, there's no way for them to keep up with them. The Sheldon just move too fast and have too much range. You have to go into cheaper, lighter, easier to spam units and overrun the Sheldon with numbers. And obviously there are ways to counter that as well. We have Fiends coming out to the front line, which are great. Sumo's another excellent option. Fusion reactors in the backline right here, starting up those fusions so that there's enough energy scaling to get into these T2 planes. As you can see, basically double the energy cost to build one of those T2 fighters relative to the T1. Big bundle of Fiends now marching forward. Lightning turrets and lightning tanks actually doing a huge bunch of damage. Nice defense right there. Yeah, the Green Commander in position with the right tools for the job. Lightning tanks a huge burst of damage. Means they're very, very effective at shutting down Fiends, which are relatively thin in the armor plating department. I love this defense right here from the Maroon Commander. Obviously, this is relatively easy to overthrow with T2 units, but the Purple Commander has just barely got that T2 lab up and running. With all these T1 solar panels, okay, I'm going to be a stickler about it this one time. 2,850 metal worth of T1 solar panels producing 380 energy versus the T2 solar panels, 2,220 energy producing 370. 2,220 metal producing 375. So that's yeah, about. Let me see here. About the same cost for a little bit less production. And obviously that's 6 versus the grand total of 19. Anyways. You're clever folks, I'm sure you can do the math yourself, but eating up those T1 solar panels and either making them into units or making them into more advanced solar panels would be the wise decision here. I'm neglecting a massive push on the left-hand side. Wasp gunships, good enough to deal with this. Luckily, there's not really any heavy anti-air here. The fighters swarm in, though. Those T2 fighters, very, very brutal. Finally swarming in to save the day, and those gunships are shot out of the sky. Parking the gunships on the ground makes them a little bit harder to target, and the defensive fighters right here will be sufficient to take care of them. But at the very least, the push has been thwarted. The gunships able to shoot those down, and the blue player and the blue and green player respectively have both been thwarted. But man, that was a gigantic push of metal that the blue commander was able to establish right there, eating up the several thousands of metal in the front lines right here, and turning it all into juicy reclaim to make that T2 laboratory happen and make a whole bunch of those T2 units happen. Very, very valuable. Spybot out right now for the orange commander, Bud Light. Big old push of hounds coming right through the middle of the map. Nice D-guns right there from ZBurX. Huge, huge D-guns. Knocking out thousands of metal worth of hounds right there, catching every single one of them on the front line. Beautifully done. That push could have been a whole lot worse had those hounds not been dealt with by that commander. Phenomenal work right there from our maroon hero in the midsection of the map. Now we've got Sheldon firing away, as well as a Pulsar with T2 walls. Going all out right here, total savage. Setting up the Porcupine defense of the century. Love to see it. Gunships pulled against this, not realizing how actually weakened the T2 air was right here for the enemy player. Going into those fusion reactors, very expensive. And you can see it grants me temporary control of the battlefield, at least control over the aerial battlefield right here, as the gunships take apart these static defenses on the front lines, mowing down basically everything here. Those Wasp gunships, like I said, they don't do a lot of damage on their own, but they do a decent amount of AoE, and so for that, I think they're definitely credible as a way to deal a lot of damage, I want to say. Do a lot of work against some of these earlier structures, the T1 especially, but even some of the T2 stuff. Pulling them into the base right here, the gunships managed to find the main base of the purple commander. As you can imagine, I was pretty stunned to see that there was advanced solar panels here, and then regular solar panels. All of which a little bit strange to see. Gunships pretty happy to take down those solar panels, though. With the little bit of AoE they do, you can see that these take down the, they close up those solar panels really easily. The T1 solar panels, when they take even a single point of damage, they close their shell and become unproductive. It means that these gunships got a lot of value all of a sudden. E-converters right here, an obvious target. And of course, those T2 E-converters, another obvious target right here. The green commander's E-conversion economy is popped. And the gunships finally, the fighter reinforcements and the gunships themselves have been shot out of the air eventually here as flak trucks walk out. A surprising amount of damage. Again, I don't play Cortex Air very often, so seeing these Wasps in action definitely made for a good argument for him. 32% on that fusion reactor. Maybe if the build power had gone down, that would have worked a little bit better. A simple matter of keeping those gunships in action as long as possible by reinforcing with the fighters. Meanwhile, a counterattack right here from the purple commander, who saw the aggression and decided it was time to push. The green commander supporting with those bulls and Mauser is phenomenal, of course. That's tons and tons of armor on the front, but also loads of damage. Not really a lot that can even get close here. Whoa, sharpshooter blasted down. That's unfortunate. Didn't even get a shot off, and that's a very expensive enemy, or rather a very expensive unit to lose. Hound's trying to fire away into this ball of Sheldon right here, but they make it towards the maroon base. Rocket Spider firing into the distance as well. Fairly effective against Sheldon because of how slow Sheldon are, well, relative to those rockets. There's very few things that Rocket Spiders can even hit in the first place, and Sheldon happened to be one of them. Oh, a nice EMP right there, by the way, from the yellow commander. Sends that EMP bot, paralyzes one of my gunships mid-air, somehow. Okay. I would imagine it would crash down to the ground, but apparently not the case here. Wind turbines chain reacting right there, but the gunships managed to clean it all up. Excellent reaction right here from the entire team, sending forces immediately to clean all these units up so that they don't make it any further, minimizing the damage at the loss of a single commander. Fusion reactor coming up. Fusion reactor still in progress right here, as our Seafoam green commander has been forced into action. The T2 army right now for the orange commander starting to tear apart this front line. Excellently done. After the loss of those T2 forces on the front here, the reclaim of all that, and then of course the amount of just pure firepower that comes out of these hounds can be really effective at pushing back into an enemy line. I'll say it once for the folks in the back, but the Gauss Cannon mode is quite a bit more effective against mobile units. The heavy plasma mode that they're in right now is much better against static structures, and this is a critical timing right here. As you can see, the blue commander mid T3 transition as these hounds find the base. They manage to push in at exactly the wrong moment for a blue hero. TNT Remmer loses the facility. Wow, it actually leaves the game. I didn't even notice that. Throws in the towel right here before the base gets destroyed. I guess got to save those, save those damage points. Make him go to the green commander. Boom go the fusions and basically everything else behind it. Those Ace Solars, all the rest of it, in a load of trouble here as the hounds start disintegrating this base. Suddenly this right-hand side has been torn wide open by the orange hero here, Bud Light. Lovely, lovely stuff. From losing the commander in the early game to pulling themselves back, losing that entire T1 army, and still managing to fight back into this game. The Hound army now doing tons of damage. Gunships in the air, tons of problems. No AA in the mix right here means these gunships are going to get away with murder. I believe the Hounds in their Gauss mode can actually shoot up and hit those. Obviously less than ideal, but it is a possibility. Eventually the aggression is dealt with. Nicely done by the blue team. Similarly to the vein here of the maroon commander who is being helped up by the yellow player here. The Seafoam green commander managing to clean up a lot of this as well as the green commander whose base this now is. I'll note though, the key difference between these two teams, one of the players left, one of the players stayed in the match. Now there's a base to hand over. At this point with the blue team in an economic lead. With a metal production equality here, but an energy lead and now a metal lead with the reclaim. Red pulls into the lead. Resurrecting this base and handing it over. Very, very useful. APM is a difficult one to quantify on the field. But when you think about the total number of units that you're comfortable microing, imagine now taking on your teammates' entire ball of units, trying to micro all those as well. You can start to add up quite quickly. I'm so surprised to see these, so surprised to see these Gauntlet on the front lines here. But you know what? They're doing a good job. The Mouths are here with a range of 820, outranged by the Gauntlet. Yeah, that's tragic. That's really, really tragic that those T1 long-range plasma, you know, area denial turrets or whatever they're called, that those things actually end up having more range than the mobile artillery pieces from the T2 era. The right-hand side, in a lovely way. Nuclear missile, by the way, takes out the orange base. Sorry, let me point at that. Second nuclear missile is launched up into the air by the powder blue commander. Fires high into the sky and down upon the midsection of the map right here. Anti-nuke manages to catch it. I was going to point out why the orange commander was sitting over here on idle, and I was wondering why, and then I realized, the orange base has disappeared from the minimap. Nuclear bomb connects with the entire midsection right there. It's one of those comeback mechanics that it definitely is difficult to see coming. If you don't have that anti-nuke up and running, if you're not thinking about it, and suddenly your entire base is gone just because of the nuclear bomb of the enemy. It can be a really, really harsh way to go out. Fiends burning across the map at this point. AA trucks, as well as lightning tanks, moving their way across. Lightning tanks escorting those trucks. Very nice to see. Always good whenever one of the teammates is being very aware of the anti-air situation. T1 units mixed into the composition here. We have welders, sumos, thugs, and aggravators all working in tandem. Nice bombing right there from the heavy bomber of the Seafoam Green Commander. Managing to kill a bunch of these clumped up units right here. Ooh, who want to kill those aggravators. They're just barely out of range. Not bad. A swell of aggression on this side. Well, that's a lot of Pitbull turrets, though. It's quite a lot of Pitbull turrets. Pitbull turrets doing a great job here, actually. They managed to blast down those hounds relatively cleanly. Yeah, you know what? Just like that, the hound push is shut down. 4 Pitbull turrets shutting down a gigantic push of hounds. Fiends, yeah, not going to going to struggle just about as much. That's pretty impressive to see. The humble Pitbull deflecting this push very, very nicely. What an efficient T2 static defense. 4 of those Pitbull turrets single-handedly shutting down all of the aggression right there as the Marauder moved through into the backline. The green base in shambles. The orange forces trying the very best to push through. The Marauder tearing open this line of defense. LLT popping. Anti-air shot down by the backpack missiles on those Marauders. T2 still marching its way across. I like these bombing runs, though. They are actually doing some good work here. Obviously, they're only so good, though. One of the issues with bombers is, of course, that they're quite inaccurate. Trying to hit moving targets down below them, they can struggle quite a lot. Nuclear missile launcher goes up, though, and that'll be the push that the blue teams need to resign. Bombers coming out, but I didn't really have much to say at the end of that game there. Basically just pulling the fighters and trying to keep the boys clear of any air harassment, those bombers and anything else like that. It's our orange and yellow heroes who really close out this game for us. Lovely stuff. Getting our maroon commander back in the fight and onto the field here. Some excellent static defense usage in the midsection by the tan commander, and a wonderful rallying of the team. It definitely felt like everybody figured out their role and managed to slip into a comfortable pace here, helping each other out, and I love to see it. And if you have liked this game, of course, feel free to like and subscribe down below. Join the Brightworks community, and if you'd like to step up that joinery, you're more than welcome to join the Discord as well, which is, of course, always linked in the description section, where I like to keep a fresh, never-expire link so that anybody and everybody is more than welcome to join in there. We've got a replay submission channel there as well if you'd like to submit your own games for consideration, and plenty of community members that are looking to have some wonderful games. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to sign on. But other than that, I'll just say have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.